Maestro, why was it that in spite of the vogue of the guitar in the 19th century, that still, when you began, there was no repertoire?
Because the guitar is a very complicated instrument.
Hi, this is another video. Don't be afraid right away if you see Andres Segovia. It's not about classical guitar. I have no business talking about that. But he's a great guitarist and he knows a lot about the instrument, regardless of which genre you like or you think is the best or whatever. Doesn't matter. He's one of the, maybe the all-time legend on the instrument for us. Today's video is again about some of my struggles, former struggles and present struggles. It's about some easy pointers for guitar for chord melody. Chord melody is a very common topic in jazz. You hear all the masters like Joe Pass, Barney Kessel, all those people doing beautiful chord melodies, which is kind of like something on the guitar that seems very difficult at start, because on the piano, I'm not saying the piano is easy, but we have two hands, so we can kind of split the chord and the melody if you want that. I know pianists don't quite do that, especially in jazz, but you could do that. Where on guitar we have to fit everything in one hand, chords and melody, and that's kind of difficult, especially at the start. And I did a lot of things not wrong, but kind of not very practical when I started out learning that. And in this video there's just going to be some pointers maybe to help you speed up your process in the chord melody. And one of them has to do with orchestration of the guitar, like what Andres Segovia is saying in this clip here.
For instance, it is like an orchestra to which we could look with the reverse sides of 8 binoculars. I mean by that every instrument of the orchestra is inside the guitar, but in smaller sound size. Sounds that. The same thing.
He doesn't talk about it quite as in the way I will talk about it, but he says like the guitar is somewhat special where we can take a melody, like he plays a way nicer melody, but like he takes this or something like this and he plays it on a different place on the guitar, the same pitch, and it sounds very different. The timbre or timbre, I don't know how to pronounce it, it's very different depending on which strings we play. So he compares the guitar to an orchestra. It has all the different kind of instruments of an orchestra in there, depending on how we pluck the string, on which string we pluck, all of that. So the guitar is kind of amazing in that way. And for chord melody, I'm thinking of the guitar divided into different functions. I think in terms of chord melody, I think of the guitar as E and A string as our bass notes. This is the bass, okay? Double bass if you want. So my D and my G string I see as the harmony, like thirds and sevenths, kind of what makes the chord minor, major, dominant, etc. And B and E are the melody. Of course that doesn't work quite with every tune, the same as chord melody. If you have a very intricate melody, like if you're playing, you won't fit chords underneath that anyway, but even if you could, I'm sure there's someone who can. For melodies that move a lot with that, we need all the strings on the guitar, otherwise it wouldn't work. But the tune I want to talk about as an example today is Darn That Dream, because it's a beautiful tune and it's very often used for guitarists for chord melodies because it works quite well. When I learned that tune first, I made kind of the mistake and learned the melody up here. I learned it somewhere up here, I think because I just knew the G major scale, the tune is in G for the most part. I just knew that box really well, so I learned it there. I had the benefit that I knew which notes I played, but I couldn't quite fit chords underneath that. And I think later on I might have learned it maybe like here. Yeah, I think I learned it here because I knew that box right. But again, I had trouble fitting the melody underneath it. So for today we want to try to fit this melody on the B and on the E string. The reason for that being that, especially when we start guitar, when I started guitar, I was very familiar with chords like this. Like those 3-note chords with their extension on B and E. Also as just normal drop 2 chord, like this kind of thing. And most of these chords, especially those 3-note chords and drop 2 chords, have their melody notes either on the, like the melody notes, like have their highest notes on the B string, on the E string, and some on the G string. So right away I knew a lot of chords that kind of fitted that, where their highest note, which is kind of what we often want to do in a chord melody, the highest note fits that kind of system of putting the melody on the higher strings. That might seem very basic for you, but for me that was really a revelation, putting the melody really up there. Then the second thing is, don't get straight away to the chord. It's very common that especially beginners in jazz guitar learn like a whole arrangement of a chord melody, which is good because at the start you kind of need something to play. But very often if people learn an arrangement like that, they kind of get caught in it. It's similar to learning like a scale as in a box and only knowing like, but wouldn't be able to play it here or here. So similar to that is when you learn a fixed arrangement for the chord melody, very stuck with that, and you can move, and it's almost like a classical recital, which at the start, again, I'm not saying don't do it. That's not quite what we're aiming for with chord melody. I look at it more from a way Julian Lage, for example, another master of guitar, looks at it. He talks in a video, not even chord melody, but he talks about learning a tune and just doing it by learning the melody and the bass notes. So he doesn't even think about if it's a sharp 11 chord or a major 9. He just learns the melody. And when he has that somewhat, he adds the bass note. Suddenly you already get the tune. Like that's the essence of the tune. You can hear it. You could play that. If you played it a bit nicer than I did, maybe add a walking bass somewhere. That's already pretty cool, and it gives you also the flexibility. Your hand is not tied to a chord yet. There's still movement, because that's the third thing I want to look at. If you have this outer shell of your bass note, I have to find a different angle for this, of your bass note with a G and your melody note with a D, you can fill up the chord in the middle with a couple of different options. You could make it a G major 7 chord, fill out G's. Classic major 7, that works. You could also go 6-9 chord. That's probably even better, especially because you have the root as the second note. You could do like something a bit more weird, like an approach sharp 11 chord, like go to that. And then the same for this chord, like I automatically played like kind of this B flat minor 11 chord because that's the melody note. But if you just learn the B flat and this, you could also play the B flat here. And then you might get all kinds of fancy ideas. You might think, oh, maybe I play instead of the G, I play not the G but a substitution, like a B minor 7, like. And then suddenly you get stuff like that. Like a bass note that descends or stuff like. There's suddenly a million options, and you're freed up for more stuff, and that kind of is not only the freed up, because I should take that back. This is about starting with chord melody. It's not even about freeing you up right away, but it's about understanding what you're doing, understanding the tune, understanding how the bass moves, where's the melody, and a simple division by bass, harmony, and melody is just a really handy thing, and you can use pretty straightforward chords. I hope that helps some of you. It helped when I kind of realized that by kind of listening and looking to other players how they did it and talking to friends and how they think about it. It helped me a lot. It's a very basic thing in your head, and I didn't even show you any fancy chord or something, but for me that helped tremendous. Thinking about the orchestration of the guitar in terms of bass, harmony, melody, it's like a little band in your hands, and I really hope that helps you. And thanks so much for watching. I hope I get more of them every week out, more of those videos with my struggle about a tune or a certain topic. This was Over Darn the Dream with the topic chord melody, and there's going to be more of that. Thank you very much. Bye.